The following program was provided by an independent producer solely responsible for its content. The opinions expressed do not necessarily represent the views of this station, its staff, board of directors, or underwriters.
Hi, my name is Leo Connors, and welcome to The Ring and All Other Sports. I got a very special guest for part 2. Professional wrestler, professional wrestling manager, jack of all trades, Sandy Starr.
Hi.
Hi, how are you?
I am fine. I am having a blast.
Nice to see you again.
Nice to see you.
Just kidding, guys. Like, we 2 different days.
Yeah, I didn't change my clothes or anything.
Before we dive back in, during the break, I got a text from a good friend of mine, David Fournier, and he wants to know if you have any great stories about traveling with the great Professor Toru Tanaka, who we did touch on, that you did drive his Cadillac and stuff on episode 1.
I have 2 wonderful stories, at least. He had just won a match, and people didn't like that. And we were driving down the highway, and a car pulled up next to us. And I was driving, he pulled out a gun. And I have no fear.
Right.
Obviously.
Yeah, right.
And Professor, I just call him T-San, said, pull over. So we pulled over. So the guy came out, you guys suck, you do this, and you cheat and blah, blah, blah. And I said, that's in the ring. But you want to have it out here, fine.
Right.
So he stood there with the gun from it, and Tanaka sitting in the car. He says, wait a minute, I'm a gentleman. Are you a gentleman? So he said, wait 1 minute. And he opens up the trunk, and he gives me his rifle. So he said, now you fear. Now go ahead if you want to shoot her.
Wow.
And so I aimed the gun at the gun.
Yeah.
I have never seen anybody move so fast in my life, because he was the passenger.
Yeah.
And he's still hanging out, holding on to the door, and they're driving down the road.
Wow.
And I thought it was the most, I had no fear.
Now, where were you coming? Were you coming out of the garden, or where?
No, this was a small place, but they didn't like us because T-San,
right,
whatever. But we had a good laugh all the way back to the hotel on that one. It was the greatest thing in the world.
Right. Back then, when I first started watching wrestling, Tanaka and Fuji were just, they were on TV every week, and it was just amazing, those guys. And then to see Toru Tanaka in the movies, he had a very successful film career.
Oh, absolutely. He's a very intelligent man.
Yeah, you could tell.
And he protected Mr. Fuji a lot, because Mr. Fuji had a lot of problems.
Okay. And
sometimes we'd ride with Mr. Fuji, Tanaka, George Steele, and a few other wild people, and there were some crazy rides, so that's why I stayed in the front.
Awesome.
But the other one was in some of the places they have the little loges.
Yep.
So the dressing room would stand out, and we had just washed up. He had that as a match, and we were underneath the loge, and people started pouring beer on us.
Not cool.
Tanaka didn't care for himself. He was a gentleman.
Right.
He loved it. He protected me. He took care of me. I was the safest person in the world.
Wow. And
he ran up that loge, grabbed that kid by the throat, brought him down, and said, security, like he needed security. But he said, no. He said, now go get them a mop, get us some face cloths, and come here, and you make them clean it up.
Nice.
And they cleaned it up, and he said, good. Now you're barred from this place forever. Goodbye.
Wow. That's awesome that he made them clean it up, because we do that at my school sometimes. When the kids do things on purpose, we make them clean it up themselves.
Well, you're the one who did it. That's it.
Right.
And he just scared. I think they had to go home and change. But
probably. Oh, my God. I'd ask you something. Did you ever see anyone strike a wrestler? I was at a WWF show years ago at the Low Memorial Auditorium, and this kid smacked Greg Valentine in the face. And I went to school with this kid. Biggest mistake I ever seen anyone ever make in his life. Not only did the kid get arrested, but Valentine chased him down, threw him to the ground, and kicked him in the head about 6 times. And then the cops just let him walk back to the ring. They took him out in cuffs. Any crazy things like that you saw?
That happens a lot, but I did see Mulligan get stabbed in the garden.
You were there for that. I was
there
going to
for
ask
that.
about that.
Everybody was so shocked. Nobody stopped this guy when he left because
Was
they
it
were
like
so
over
shocked.
100 stitches or something like
Yeah.
that?
I mean, he just went up behind him. He just got him right, just zoom, and he was out of the ring. And everybody, even in the low, everybody's so shocked. Nobody went after this guy.
Right.
And nobody ever got him. They never got him. But I was also there at the hotel, which is, and we have a crosswalk that goes from the garden to the hotel, for the wrestlers, and for anybody there. And I was there when Monsoon had his arm on the couch like this in front of the window. And the valet would come up, or you'd drive up and then the valet would take it. And we were sitting in the lobby there. And the car came through the window and busted his arm.
Wow.
And he had a match, I think, with Ernie Ladd that night. And he did really legit break his arm because, because it was hanging up on there. So he brings somebody in, like Mike Pappas.
Yeah, I remember Mike Pappas.
To take his place.
Yeah.
And he comes in the ring in a suit, with his broken arm.
Right.
And said, he's going to take my place and all this. And Ernie Ladd said, oh, this is going to be an easy one, all this stuff. And like, Monsoon chopped him so bad.
Right.
He literally went flying over the top rope and hit his head on the
Wow. So he chopped Mike or Ernie Ladd?
He chopped Ladd because Ladd was laughing because he had him there.
I loved Ernie Ladd.
Yeah.
I used to love his interviews. Mr. TV announcer. His interviews were so different than everybody else's,
Well, we were blessed because back then we had a lot of people from every sport. When a sport had a season.
Right.
We had the hockey players, we had the baseball players, and we had the football players.
Right.
And we also got to stay, when we stayed at the hotel, we got to meet all the musicians. I met so many people. I hung with Arlo Guthrie and Frank Zappa.
Wow.
Because we'd stay overnight and watch each other's shows.
Yeah.
I met so many people in so many kinds of ways that I went on stage with James Taylor.
Wow.
Because we were at the Springfield Auditorium. It has a big auditorium in the front, and it has a little place in the back where they do plays and concerts.
Okay.
So I came back after my match, and I go in, and I'm kind of lost, and I thought it was my locker room. And I walk right on stage, and there's James Taylor singing. And excuse me. And I started backing up. I said, no, come here. And he sang me the song.
Wow.
Then he asked for my autograph. I said, if you give me yours. So I said, I have his autograph.
That's cool.
And we talked later on about it. And I said, I was so sorry. But you get confused in all the rooms the way it was set up, And, it ended up being all right, but,
It's amazing, though. Like, the first two guys you mentioned was Arlo Guthrie, who, was very famous for his Thanksgiving song.
Yes.
Alice's Restaurant.
I love it.
And Frank Zappa, I got to tell you a quick story. I was like 9 years old at my friend's house one day, and his mom was playing Dynamo Hum. And I was like, what? So then when his mom left, we must have played that song like 20 times in a row, just looking at each other, amazed of the lyrics of that song. Amazing. And I'm a huge music guy too. I love music. I don't play instruments. I like to sing. I'm not that good at it, but I still like to sing.
I do it for fun. I don't care.
You do karaoke?
Yeah.
So I want to get a bunch of wrestlers to go do karaoke together.
They do that a lot.
Do they? See, I want
when
to
they
do
go to
that
the
with
bars and
everyone.
stuff. Oh, they do.
Because I know a certain guy named Joey Eastman that likes to sing that song by the Divinals, I Touch Myself, which would be hilarious. I've never seen him do it, but I want to. So, Joey, let's get out there and do some karaoke.
We get Brandon Webb, Teddy Goods, and all them, and we all seen them. They all do karaoke. It's nice.
So they go after like a top rope show?
Yeah.
Oh, Sonny, you got to take me to when they go all karaoke and after. That sounds like fun. I didn't know you were at the shows. Next time I go to the show, I'll have to ask her so I could say hi.
I'm usually in the back,
Yeah, nice.
But Frank Zappa, I'll tell you, he imitates Groucho Marx really well.
Does he really?
Oh, he's a riot because he's short.
Yeah, no, he's
a riot.
One of the weirdest lyrics. They say he was a genius too.
Oh, I'm telling you.
Yeah, I've read that many times that Frank Zappa's like a genius. His kids are very intelligent too. Very weird names. Moon Unit, Dweezil, but smart kids. So, all right. Speaking of kids, we've already touched up on this a little bit on the first episode, but a few people brought up your son who wrestled as the Vertebraker. And again, like I said on the first one, I did not know he was your son. They want to know, how did he get started in the business? And if you could tell a little bit about his career, maybe.
Well, when he was very little, he went with me, obviously.
Right.
And I was in a bad situation, so we had to leave my ex and go to shelter and whatnot. And then when I finally went back into wrestling, I just started I went back to taking tickets for the Savoldis and stuff.
Okay.
And he would take the jackets because he was tall for his age.
Right.
You know? And he worked out with Taz.
Nice.
He worked out with all the guys.
Right.
Eric Spracher and all them.
Another guy I want to bring up in a little bit.
I mean, this kid had the life. In a way, we were poor as anything. We had the life.
Right.
You know, because I took him to the shows, and he'd do that, and he'd take all the ring jackets. So he started with that. And then when he got older, he went to, I want to say NEW, I don't know, but he went to other federations because he didn't want to be with me, a part of me.
Right.
He wanted his own thing.
Which makes sense.
And he did, and that's fine.
Right.
And I couldn't even tell you the alphabet soup names that he went to.
Right.
But he went with as Ryan Storm, and he started with them, and he became Ryan Storm for a while, and then he broke out of that. And then we got together in Primal Conflict.
Right.
So that was fun. You know, but he did it on his own, and God bless him for it, you know.
Right.
But I'm so proud. I got to tell you, he worked with Minoru Fujita
Yes.
for Primal Conflict. He did it for He beat 4 guys. The whole idea was he was supposed to be kicked out of Primal Conflict. He beat 4 guys, and Minoru Fujita came and wrestled with him. And he doesn't speak English. He has a translator.
Right.
And my son, I'm just saying this not only as a proud mother, but as a fan.
Right.
He's the only one who knew what to do when he got the aha move. Do you know what the aha move is? Minoru goes to hit him and doesn't, and a lot of people will fall. And my son knew not to fall.
Right.
Minoru, through the interpreter later on, said, I would love to wrestle you again. He said, you know what you're doing.
That's awesome.
Vegeta's
awesome. Great wrestler.
I was like,
yeah.
You know, my heart was bursting. It was so, but to watch him, and I've got pictures of that match. It was one of the greatest matches I've ever seen in my life.
That's awesome.
For a regular match.
Yeah.
The ones where he set his leg on fire, that was fun too.
Right.
You know, but
there was a lot of fire, it seems, in Primal Conflict. Because I know Dave Padula liked to throw the fire.
Yes. And what was it? Jamie Payne got burned very badly.
Oh, really bad, yeah.
Yes,
yeah.
He got burned really bad.
Yeah. That was over his body.
Yes.
Yes. I actually just saw that just recently.
Well,
looking
because
stuff up.
a couple people accidentally poured a little bit too much.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That was crazy. I mean, you could tell he got burned really bad, but it was like you obviously saw how bad it was.
Oh,
right?
absolutely. It was. Wow. It's a good thing. The place we were at Club Stars, when we went in the back, right there was the kitchen,
right,
and the big sinks, and we're putting it out, and we couldn't have asked for better conditions, you know.
Right.
But we did a lot of good things.
He had some great matches, him and Nemesis.
Yeah.
Jamie Payne and Nemesis. But we may bring them guys back up down the line. But back to your career. You brought your women's wrestling championship out. Now, how many belts have you held? And how long have you held this one?
That one's well over 20 some odd years.
Wow.
But the belt itself is over 40 years old.
It's awesome. It's a great looking belt. I love it.
Thank you. I do too. It's to me, it's like an Oscar or Emmy or whatever.
Right,
you know?
right. Oh, absolutely.
Like in WWF, you get to keep your belt.
Right.
You know, and that's mine. So forever.
That's so cool. All right. How about, have you thought about coming out to manage people now? Like, I think we talked a little bit on the first episode with you, but I really feel a lot of guys that have a hard time talking could use the benefit of someone like you to help them, you know, talking for them and teaching them more.
I'd love to, as long as I can still wrestle.
Right.
You know, I love to manage. And I will say this, I manage, I don't valet.
Right.
To me, a valet is just a pretty girl.
Yep.
And I'm not a pretty girl. I know what I am. I'm short, fat, and all that. Some days I'm thinner. Some days my hair's longer or whatever. But I know what I am. But I know what to do.
Right. Right.
So if I pull my guy out of the ring and say something, I'm saying something. I know what I'm talking about.
Right.
So I'm a manager. So yeah, I have no trouble. I'd love to manage again, as long as I can still wrestle once in a while, and as long as I can still
Right.
take the bumps and stuff.
Nice. All right. Maverick Wild wanted me to ask you if he owes you a blank Beta or VHS tape.
VHS.
VHS tape. Now, is there a backstory to this? Because Mav didn't say it. He just asked me to ask you this question.
Because he didn't know whether I had a Beta or VHS player
all
for
right.
my match. I think that's the one he was referring to. He took me, I got in the ring, and he used to hit me or whatever, and he put me over his knee and he spanked me.
Mav.
It was just a change of venue.
Yeah.
It was like, well, this time I'm not going to hit you. I thought it was the greatest.
Right.
It was just an impulse thing like that, you know.
I don't know if you know this, but Maverick Wild has an open invitation to be a guest on any episode as long as the guest agrees. That's my relationship with Mav. I have a lot of respect for him. And like I said to you before, that he has actually helped me so much with this show. Whenever someone won't answer me, I just go Mav or Sonny or Dave Padula, and they all take good care of me, and they get me that guest.
That's cool.
So it's nice to have friends.
I have some friends that I miss, those like Brian Walsh, because he went to England and stuff like that.
He was incredible. He's been brought up on the show a lot, especially by Mav. Mav says all the time that he loved, besides Ripper Morrison, Brian Walsh is somebody that he'd like to wrestle and stuff. So
He did so well in England. He loved it there.
yeah, so talented. All right. So when was your last match?
It would have to be with, I tagged with Pat Garrett
Yep.
against, I couldn't tell you who, there's some guy, he was insulting my age, and I showed him off.
Nice.
And the girl didn't get to do much.
No. Oh, hey.
He was insulting me and, you know, said I was made out of dust. And I said, you want to see some dust, what it can do to you?
Right.
So I got the best of him. I threw him out of the ring, and I tagged off to Pat, and Pat finished him off for me, and that was the end of that.
It must be on knowing how big Pat Garrett is. What a visual, you guys side by side it must be. I mean, you probably go up to what, here, Arnold?
If I'm
Because
lucky.
he's huge.
Yeah. And if I stand in front of him, he's huge. I mean, not fat, but he's huge.
Yeah. Him and
He's a giant.
a couple of the biggest guys I've ever seen, like around here. Obviously, Rick Fuller,
Oh, yeah.
Pat Garrett, and Craig Costa.
Yes.
I'm trying to get Craig. Craig will eventually be on the show, but I told my girlfriend, I said, wait till you see if I get Craig Costa on the show. His arm is like bigger than my body. He's just a huge guy. Seems like a great guy. I've only talked to him online. You know what I mean? But definitely want to get him on the show.
Colossus on here, and if you get Colossus, you need a different chair.
Yeah. Yeah.
Seriously, he's
Right.
big.
I'll definitely have to get a new chair for that. All right. So, what was the last show you managed on?
That was many years ago. I couldn't even tell you.
No? Okay, we could just move on. We're going
But I could tell you a managing story.
Okay, that'd be great.
El Pancho Ayala.
Okay.
I used to manage him. And he got thrown in the corner, and this is the only time I've seen it. And this was for before it came top rope, when it was Whaling City and Yankee Pro. And he rang the bell with his head when he got hit the corner.
Yeah.
And he had to be taken out by an ambulance.
Really?
Yes.
Wow.
I mean, I have never seen anybody hit it so hard.
Right? That's
'Cause-
crazy.
Instead of hitting the padding,
Yeah.
he hit the post. And
They cut him open?
oh yeah,
Yeah.
he rang the bell.
Wow.
Not the real bell, but
Right.
he rang the bell. That was it.
That's amazing.
And that's why I like being a manager sometimes, because then I say, get the ambulance.
Right.
You know, I have to tell people sometimes,
Yeah. That's crazy.
you know, because my brother almost died in the ring.
Did he really? I didn't know. What happened?
Nobody knows to this day, and he's deceased now, so I can tell the story.
Right.
But we were in Maine, and Robbie Ellis dropped an elbow on him. And his son and my son were in the front row.
Yep.
And I saw him turn gray just like that. And their idea of having an ambulance there was a girl who was just an EMT that had just learned about animals or something. I don't
Right.
know. So I said, get him to a hospital. And she took him in the back. And, the adrenaline, he's walking around.
Right.
I said, get him to a hospital. He said, no. Then we both had, that was an afternoon show. We both had shows going this way.
Right.
But I called up and I canceled mine and I followed him. And it was to, I think, one of Joe's shows, Joe Eugenio's. Had to climb up the stairs. He couldn't lift his leg.
Wow.
His ribs had punctured his lungs.
Jesus.
And
And he wasn't going to the hospital?
he had this ego problem. And he didn't want to hurt Robbie Ellis's feelings. Robbie doesn't know to this day that he did that.
Wow.
But Robbie has such bony elbows.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
sorry.
Yeah. No, I hear you. He gets brought up a lot on this show, Robbie.
But my son knows what's going on, but my nephew didn't. So I ran out there.
Yeah.
And I said, your daddy's doing really good faking it, And my son's trying to calm him down
Right.
and stuff like that. But
Wow.
he was in the hospital for about a good 3 weeks.
Robbie, work out those bony elbows.
Put padding on him.
Yeah.
We wear elbow pads.
He's wrestled a lot of people that I've had on this show. It's hilarious. Like a lot of people.
Oh, yeah, I've seen him a million times. And I think the world of him, but
Right.
my brother just didn't want him to know.
Right. And he never wrestled for the money because he didn't need the money. Correct, Robbie?
Correct.
He's an artist, right? Or owned a gallery.
He owns
or
a
something.
gallery.
Yeah.
Him and his wife own a gallery. Yeah.
Nice. Okay. I like to play the name game. It's where you tell me maybe a story, your opinion of them, whether you like them or not. So we can have some fun here. I bring out some names. I told you off air the first name that I had because you actually, before we went on the air, you mentioned this guy, Mr. USA, Tony Atlas, who I just saw last weekend.
Is one of my best friends. The guy is so intelligent and he's so friendly and he will help anybody.
Right.
And he's so much fun in the dressing room.
Nice.
And he loves to goof on the new guys.
Does
He'll
he?
come over to me and we'll goof on the new guys, kind of.
He's a great artist, too, which I
Yes.
didn't know until the Pro Wrestler Marathon thing that happened a few years ago. I had no idea. He was there drawing. He brought all his art. I was like, wow, I had no idea that Tony was such a great artist. How about the late, great Nick Steele, who I just met before he passed and was such a great guy.
Like I said, his father had the ring for Joe Eugenio.
Right,
I knew him since he was a kid. Wow. I watched him grow up.
right.
My niece did date him, and my niece wrestled with him.
Wow.
He thought the world of my brother and me. He's a gentleman. He was the kindest person. His mother was very ill. I think, like I said, she had ALS or something. She was in a wheelchair.
Right.
He'd bring her to the shows. He'd carry her, and put her in a seat or something. I can't say enough about him.
Right. And they say he was an incredible dad, too. Incredible father.
He was the same as his father. He carried it on.
Right.
And his mother passed first, and then his father died years later. But he taught how he was taught
Right.
to be gentle, kind, and good. And and the best husband. And he loved his family and
Right.
family first.
Yep.
I was devastated.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sure you were. I mean, I met him once and then he passed like 6 weeks later. He couldn't have been any nicer to me, honestly. Like, I didn't know him from a hole in the wall. I'm over there talking to somebody else and him and Sonny are at the bar and they're ordering shots. And, you didn't have to include me. I'm way over there. He's like, get Leo. I want to buy him a shot. Just, he couldn't have been any nicer. It was so sad when he passed away. I wish I got to know him a lot better.
Well, I watched the kid grow up.
Right.
But this is what's happened with me. I've seen so many kids die, and like I babysat, like I said, the Von Erichs.
Right.
I've raised so many kids and seen them die.
Yeah.
I mean, hundreds. I know thousands of people. I'm not being
Right.
funny.
No, I know. I know you're
But
not.
I've seen hundreds die, and they're all younger than me, and that kills me.
Right. It is very sad. There's been so many, even local,
Yeah.
a lot of local kids. I mean, let me bring one up right now real quick. DC Dillinger. Did you have any interaction with DC at all?
I just knew him. That's all. But
Yeah. He was a great heel.
Yeah.
Great. I mean, that guy didn't even have to, he'd come out and just stand there. And the people would like to throw things at him. He didn't have to say anything. Just
Right.
his arrogance of standing there. And along with his manager, Sean Gorman.
right.
And his tag team partner, Eddie Edwards, and
I love
Sabotage.
that. Yeah.
They were incredible together. I mean, I've had Sean as a guest, and he was an incredible guest. And that's one where I told you where Mav has an open invitation.
Yeah.
He jumped all over that one. He couldn't wait to be here for that episode. And graciously, Sean said yes. So it was awesome. All right. How about another guy that was going to come down with you, but they had a big trial at the courthouse, Andy Jacks.
Oh, yes, I know, because God, I love Andy.
I talked to him yesterday. So,
Yeah.
Great guy.
He is wonderful.
Yeah. I didn't realize he only had like a 7-year career. I did not know that. Until I had him as a guest. And honestly, by the time he left, I felt like I'd known him my whole life.
Well, it was a short career, but because we did training almost every night. So
Right.
I saw him all that time. So it seemed like a lot longer. Because we had the
Yeah.
training school in New Bedford and he'd be there all the time. So it's like, only 7 years? No, wow.
I remember him and Danny Jacks, the tag team there. Kai Capacetta,
Yeah.
a fraternity gimmick, but they were awesome. And literally, I thought they really were fraternity guys.
Right.
Like that fraternity guys in college that are now pro wrestlers too.
Right.
I believed it. They'd come down with the panties and the bras on their heads, half a keg of empty
Yep.
keg of beer. Those guys were awesome, and they were in great shape.
Yeah.
But Andy loves you.
Oh,
He does. A lot of these guys, I told you on that first episode we did, the respect you have is amazing.
and I appreciate it. It means so much to me.
But they do. Honestly, you have so much respect from everybody. And I just find that amazing that people in this day and age, not enough people give people credit and say nice things about people. Everybody wants to be negative in the world, it seems, most of the time. To see something like that, have so many people hit me up. No, you absolutely are hands down the person that was, after I announced you, that was brought up to me is how much they loved you. You more than anyone. And that's the truth.
And I appreciate that. But that's because I respect them when I go in.
Right.
I'm not better than anybody.
Right.
I've been in longer. I might know more, but I'm not better than you.
Right.
And you can probably do some things out there I can't do. And you're a person.
Right. Dave Padula told me how, like, you, his very first match, you were a very calming presence to him. He was so nervous, but you got him to be calm, and he ended up making it through his first match, and it was great. But without you, he said he would have been a nervous wreck all the way up through the match.
And he's always told me that, and I appreciate that. But it's the same thing. Like if you're an actor, make believe everybody's naked, or just look at one person. There's a lot of clues you can do the same thing like that.
Yep.
Or just look at me.
Right.
And you look at your opponent. Nobody else is there. That's it.
Nice. All right. How about, we talked about Dr. Heresy earlier. How about Kid Crazy?
He's good.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's crazy.
He is crazy, that's for sure. He says he wants to have one more match. He's been talking about it online. And like I said, he wanted to come on here Zoom, but this is your episode. Crazy, we'll get you on. Maybe we'll get you guys on together sometime. But I think I'd like to get you and Andy Jacks on together too.
That would be fun.
That would be a lot of fun. Because like I said, Andy was a great guest. Sonny Goodspeed.
Sonny Goodspeed is the bomb. I managed him when he did the chicken. The chicken gimmick was so funny. And then we went out after to a dance, and he's a good dancer.
Yeah. He
Just
likes
want
to
you know
dance.
that. He loves to dance. But when he did the chicken thing, it was just so hilarious.
Right.
And then he'd get in there and he could move like crazy.
Yeah.
He's a good wrestler.
Yeah, definitely. Great mind for the business too.
Yes.
Speaking about a good mind for the business, Ryan Drew.
Ryan Drew, he's my bud. I think the world of him. I talk to him a lot. I was in the back room, the last PAL show, talking to him.
Yeah.
And I asked him about if he, how his approach is to teaching and stuff, because everybody teaches differently.
Right.
And he teaches a lot like I do.
Oh, nice.
Old
Yeah.
school. You got to do this before you can do that. Don't start thinking you can jump around like a monkey,
Right. What I like too about Ryan with the training thing, Ryan is a guy that has no problem with his guys training with him, and then maybe 1 week going somewhere else, where some other guys have a problem with that. You know what I mean? Like, you're my guy, you only train here. But it's great to see that Ryan has no problem with he wants his guys to train with other people too. So they get the most out of, the training.
But that's where I got it too, because if I got it from so many different people, like I said, I didn't have
Right.
one trainer. You can learn how to work with anybody. If they call in somebody from out of nowhere that you never heard of,
Right.
you can work with them.
Right.
So there's nothing wrong with that.
Right, exactly. Like I said, that Ryan is really good about that. He loves having these young kids train everywhere. How about a guy right from here in Nashville who had a big career in Winnipeg, Canada, Jeff Costa, Lobster Man.
I love him. My brother used to work with him so much, ref with him.
Yeah.
He ref for him when he was here, when they did Salisbury and stuff like that. Yeah.
Jeff's a good guy.
He's had an amazing life.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, if you read up on what he's done and stuff, he's had an amazing life.
Yeah.
He's a good man.
Yes, he is. And he's, Jeff, if you watch this, I'm still waiting for you to come on the show. Don't make me have to call Monica, Jeff, because I will. He'd be a great guest.
He's the best.
Yeah, he really is.
He's done a lot of different things too.
Yeah.
You know?
Yep. How about Jose Perez?
Jose is a great worker, and him against Mike Baker,
Yeah.
I love watching. I'm out there managing Mike Baker, but I'm watching like a fan almost too
Right.
at the same time.
Yeah.
You know, so I get the best of both worlds. You know, it's just they work well together.
And you had brought up on the first episode how you came back to manage Brickhouse in his final match against Jose.
That
In
was
the double
that was an
retirement
honor.
match.
Yes, that was such an honor.
Yeah, I bet.
And I got to watch, like I said, I got to watch this film because they spend most of the time in the balcony hanging from each other with the chains and stuff. So
Right.
I didn't follow them into the balcony.
Yeah.
You know, and I just stayed out of the way and let them do their thing. But afterwards, it was the greatest thing because they really love each other.
Right.
And Joe Eugenio came in and gave them each a plaque.
Oh, nice.
And they didn't know Joe was coming.
Wow, I really
And
wish
then,
I went that
then
night.
Steve came in, Steve
Really?
Ricard. Yeah, and we were all standing in there and a lot of crying going on.
Yeah, I bet. And Steve Riccardi's doing a great job, continuing the great jobs with Top
I
Rope.
love Steve and I love his wife, and they had a baby. They just had a baby. 4 months old.
Congratulations, guys.
5 months old.
Nice. Real quick, going back just a second to the Top Rope shows. I saw that the case they had of Nick.
Yes.
That, honestly, I could have cried, man, when I saw that.
I cried when they made
honestly,
it. I did, yeah.
I even got emotional just looking at it, realizing, that, I talked to the guy not that long ago, and to see the love and respect that he had from those guys to do that,
And,
great.
and it'll be there forever. you
Yeah,
know.
I loved it. How about, we already talked about Brickhouse a lot, but how about his sons, David and Devin, where they say Devin is the nice one? Sorry, David, I'm just kidding. No, that's a little joke, but honestly, when I had Devin on, David had already been on. And they all said, oh, you got the nice one on now. So we kind of played with that a little bit. But they're both of them are great guys.
They're both great, but they do have different personalities.
Yes. Oh, totally. Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah.
And
I can see why they say
Yeah.
that. Definitely.
And they want to do their own thing, and that's fine, and they don't want to be their father,
right.
which is fine.
Yeah.
But they're good workers. They learned, obviously, from one of the best.
Right.
So,
Exactly. Yeah. They're great guys. How about another great tag team from this area? Davey Cash and Chris Pyro, the Hoods.
Wonderful. Wonderful.
They're awesome. I told you already how
Yeah.
the respect I have for Davey. I don't know Chris as well. You know what I mean? But great wrestler. Great work.
I've known Davey since he started, you
Right.
know?
The highlight kid.
Yeah.
Excellent. We talked about this guy a little bit earlier too, Rick Fuller.
I love Rick Fuller. And I love his wife.
Right.
And but working with him, or against him, I should say, and he used to chop me, and I was the only girl that could take the chops. And I love it. And don't hold back, Rick. I said, I'll
Right.
come after you. And he didn't.
But you would too. I believe that.
I would.
I do. I believe that.
And he was just the greatest. And in one match, he went to hit me, and he just grabbed me and kissed me. Everybody went nuts because they're waiting for the chop.
Yeah. He shocked you.
And I just did the Three Students.
That's awesome.
It was the best.
This guy I'm going to bring up has passed away. I actually talked about him just a couple times on the show. The late Bobby Morin.
I managed him. I did a whole article in the Boston newspaper. They came to my house and took my pictures and they did a whole section fold out of 10 pages of him.
Wow.
Bobby Moran was one of my best friends. When I went to the wake, it was horrible.
Right.
And I've followed his kids since then, and his kid's going off the hook even worse.
I have a magazine that he was in, an interview with him in New Wave Wrestling.
Yes.
I think it came out like not even 6 months before he was murdered.
Well, that was my friend Sandy DeLuca, and I'm going to plug her here.
Yes.
She worked for Mike O'Hara, who did Wrestling Confidential and all them, and I'm in all them because of her and him. I'm in New Wave and Wrestling Confidential. I was in all those magazines.
I love those magazines.
And so she came to Joe's shows, and then she'd interview the guys I'd tell her that deserved to be interviewed, and because they had been in for a while.
Right.
Because you don't put in a new guy, I've been here 2 weeks and I want to be interviewed. No, you're not going in a magazine right now.
Right. No, it's absolutely.
But Bobby Moran, that broke my, I have never seen such a funeral. 3 hours standing outside for the wake.
Wow.
And when you see him, his wife, and the girl, the little girl, and we went to the year afterwards, they had a memorial. I went to that.
Yeah.
And his brother had a little son that he named after him. And I was just totally devastated.
I never saw Bob. How good was Bobby? Because I've heard he was
Bobby
really
was
good.
He was ready to go to the WWF. He had a calling to go there.
I had no idea.
Yeah.
Wow.
And he was ready to go, like I want to say within a month or something like that, for one of their blackout matches, in the house.
Oh, doc matches, yeah.
Yeah, the doc matches. And
wow.
I have never been through anything like that in my life.
Right. See, and I didn't know. I brought him up. I had no idea that you guys were so close.
I managed him since he started, since forever.
Because he's been only brought up here a couple of times, but the people that have brought him up say nothing but unbelievably great things about him. So.
And his brother, I love his brother refed.
Oh, okay.
For us. And we knew because he was late and he was never late.
Right.
And he never showed up to the show. And we all had a tough time doing the show because we knew something was wrong.
Right, right.
It was a tough night.
Yeah, I'm sure it was. All right, how about Tom Burke?
Tom Burke and I go so far back. I have so much respect for him. He's the world's greatest historian. I'm talking about all over the world.
Yes.
He was stationed in Germany when he was in the service. He can tell you, he has things from Japan and from England and from, I don't know, maybe down the Amazon River, I don't know. But he's got a great collection of things. Right. But I'll tell you, he's the first one I called when my brother died. Because we've known each other for so long. Right. And I know he could get the word out because I couldn't deal with that. I had other things to do. No, Tom is the best.
And like I told you earlier, that he's mentioned a lot on the Jim Cornette podcast as, as the guy that Jim will call when he needs to know an answer to something. He says he hits up Tom. So. And
he introduced me to the Lake sisters who used to wrestle like in the 60s, I think.
Oh, really?
They were the sisters, yeah. And we still correspond. And I guess one's in their 80s now, Ann Lake. Wow. But he thinks enough of me and he takes me around. He's just a good man.
Right.
He's so good. And he's good friends with the Currys. They go out and eat a lot.
Nice. That's excellent. How about a guy that I think refereed a little bit, Glenn Kane, who I don't bring up that often.
I have
Glenn?
No idea.
Okay. Jason Rumble.
I love Jason.
Great guy.
My son worked for him a lot.
Yes. Yeah, and NWA New England. And didn't he work for Tony also, right?
Yes.
The CWA and NWA.
I used to hang with Tony a lot when he was with the Savoldis.
Right.
And stuff. And I even used to go in Boston where he worked, and I won't mention him, we hung there a lot.
Now, I wonder sometimes, how the New England wrestling scene would have been if Tony didn't pass away. It certainly wouldn't have been what it ended up because, you know what I mean? Like Tony was, besides Killer, had the two great promotions going.
I think there would have been almost like the AWA and NWA type thing, where we had more stuff. And WWF, might be A, but you'd have two
Right.
Bs,
Right.
you know?
Yep.
And I think that's where it'll be at.
Okay. If can't talk about New England wrestling without talking about Killer Kowalski.
He was a good friend of mine. Thank God. I loved him. He was such a genius outside the ring and stuff. He's the first one who told everybody, like, when you go in an airplane, he was talking about the air being recycled and stuff like that. And he, you know, I mean, he knew stuff that just these odd little things, and he knew so much.
Right.
And he was a vegetarian.
Yes.
And he just had a wealth of knowledge that had nothing to do with wrestling.
Nice.
You know.
How about a guy that's trained a lot of people in this area, Mike Hollow?
I like Mike. I never worked with him, but
Right.
I like him.
Okay. You talked about him earlier. Teddy Goods.
Teddy Goods I love him, and I love Brandon Webb. Those two guys are phenomenal.
Yes.
They're the bomb. They're the greatest workers. I mean, there's nothing they can't do and won't
Right.
do.
Definitely.
And I watch them as a fan. I watch them as a wrestler. I watch them as I kind of feel like their mother.
Yeah.
You know, because I'm older, and I've known Teddy since he was 9 years old.
Right.
You know, and it's almost like my kids are out there playing.
I was shocked that somebody didn't pick Teddy up. I mean, when they picked up his former partner, Biff Busick, who's now known as Oni Lorcan, I was shocked. I'm still shocked that someone hasn't picked him up. He's that good.
I think he did a couple things for Vince.
Oh, okay.
But I just want to get in one thing.
Yes, please.
Speaking of the old things, because there wasn't much when I was first wrestling. They didn't videotape anything, and I wish they had.
Right.
I had some good matches back then, you know, and stuff. And I did some good things, and now we have Chops Videos,
Right.
who did a lot of taping, like of Primal Conflict and the place I went to in Connecticut with Tony DeVito and stuff. So he's putting them out there on YouTube now.
The new NEWA
Yes.
also, because I was
Right.
down there selling some merchandise at some of those shows. That was when George Carroll was running
Right.
NEWA.
So I'm grateful for at least I have some things now
Right.
of some of my career anyway.
Yeah, yeah.
You know.
Well, see
And-
it. I'm sorry, go ahead.
And he has some of my brother on tape and
Right.
stuff, you know, and that means a lot to me.
Right.
Because my brother was in magazines. They'd always put him in the Andre magazine, the autobiography
Yeah.
of him, right, the centerfold,
Nice.
because they always put him with them because my brother's short like me.
Yeah.
And then he's on the bubblegum card, number 49, in one of the years. With,
Yes. Did you post that picture?
yeah.
Yeah.
With the Iron Sheik had somebody in the camel
Yeah.
clutch, you know. And
Wow.
I'm proud of my brother.
Right.
He was a brother to me, but everybody else, he was great too.
Nice.
And he was funny. And he
Right.
was very intelligent. He knows, he taught me, it's not the same now. We used to have only one camera. We had to know to do the move over here so the camera would see us.
Right.
Where they have cameras on every angle now, it doesn't matter.
Right.
These kids don't know how to pace and how to do what I was taught to do.
Yep.
You know, but I still teach them how to do it,
That's good.
just in case.
Yeah.
What if you go to a small place and they only have that one camera?
Right. Exactly. You need to
You
know
know.
how to wrestle in front of a camera.
If you're going to do a big move, you're not going to do it facing that way.
Right.
No, you've got to make sure you're there.
Yeah.
My brother knew timing, spots, and everything. He was a genius when it came to that stuff.
Right.
And you know, he was one of the best refs and wrestlers. Him and Dean Ross used to wrestle each other all the time.
Nice.
And they were both referees and
Right.
wrestlers, you know.
That's cool.
So
See, and I brought him up, George Carroll Jr., who has now worked his way up from starting as a wrestler, a promoter, working for New Japan, working for MLW, and now is working at NXT. I'm sure
Okay.
you know
Oh,
George
yeah.
better than I do, and I'm proud of him. I can imagine how proud of him you are.
like I said, it's a mother thing.
Yeah.
You know.
Isn't it great, though,
It's
huh?
amazing.
Yeah.
It's wonderful. I like to see kids make it,
Right.
you know. 'Cause
Definitely.
There's a lot of good indies, like I said, like Teddy Goods and Brandon Webb. He knows I love and adore him.
Yep.
You know, they're just the bomb.
Definitely. And another guy that I'm a big fan of that I was surprised hasn't been picked up, Slick Wagner Brown. I mean, he was working for Ring of Honor for a while at the
Right.
beginning. But, I mean, Slick's an incredible, who owns the Test of Strength Wrestling down in
Right.
Connecticut, doing great things.
He's a good worker. I saw him when he was young. He was
Right.
good.
Yeah.
But not that he's old, but when he was
No,
young.
I know what you mean. Yeah. He's always been great, I think. All right, how about ring announcer Sean O? Do you know Sean? Okay. Anything about Sean? I just know that he was a controversial guy. A lot of people didn't like him. I don't know him at all. I was just curious.
I think he doesn't quite know what a ring announcer does sometimes.
Okay.
But Bob Cleese was one of my favorite ring announcers.
Oh, yeah? Okay. Now, I would say that we talked in the first episode about Todd Sopel, let's say. I have a feeling, I don't know Sean O, but something tells me that they kind of are a very similar type of people.
Right.
Have problems relating with people. So, all right. How about Shane and Eric Alden?
Never.
Okay. I know you know this guy. Sweet Scott Ashworth.
Scott's my buddy. Yeah.
I got to get him on here. Everybody
Yes.
says it all the time. You need to get Scott on here. So
Scott's he's funny. But I was there when they were hazing him.
Oh,
And
really?
I yelled at everybody because I don't like hazing.
Right.
They held him into a chair and he has a very hairy chest and they put tape on and they ripped it off.
Oh, that had to hurt.
And I got very angry at
Right.
everybody. And he says, no, it's part of us. Nobody's hazing me because I'll kill you.
Right.
You know, try and haze me. I don't think so.
I actually posted about something that I had posted a few years ago about bullying today. So it's just kind of nice that how you brought that up, how you were very upset. How about one of my favorite tag teams from the early 2000s is and maybe the 90s, Johnny Idol and Mike Steele, the Egomaniacs.
Oh, love him. I love Johnny Idol.
Me too.
Really good.
I've gotten to know Johnny quite a bit,
Yeah.
through Facebook and stuff like that. And I actually had him on during the pandemic. I had him on Skype. It was a great interview, and I think he's one of the greatest guys around here. And his tag team with Mike Steele, they were awesome. So
Yeah, I agree.
okay, Jason Blade.
Very good. Very, very good.
Okay, how about Mike Bennett?
I like Mike Bennett. I really do.
He's come a long way. I mean, I remember the first time I saw him, he was probably 140 pounds, and look at him now. It's unbelievable. He's such a good wrestler. See, it's nice to see him back in Ring of Honor.
Right.
Because WWE didn't know what to do with him. And I think they dropped the ball with him big time. Especially when he was there with his wife. I mean, she's got a lot of charisma herself, Maria. So,
They came to PAL a few times.
okay.
And I talked to her, and she makes her own clothes and stuff.
Right.
She's just a fantastic woman.
Right.
I think the world of her.
Nice. She seems great. How about Brandon Webb's sometime teammate, Frankie Vane?
Good.
Now, are they teaming together as the Devil's Doorman, right now? Is that Frankie that's working with Brandon? Because I know for a while he did have a partner.
He's got a partner now, and it's
not
Devil's-
Frankie?
I don't remember the other kid's name because I love Brandon so
Right.
much. I just watch him. I don't know.
Maybe Brandon, you could comment or something when I post the episode up and let us know. How about my favorite tag team of all time? John Kronos and Perry Saturn, the Eliminators. By far, they're my favorite tag team. Nobody even comes close. For me.
As wrestlers, yeah. I have to keep my personal life out of it.
Okay.
But they were good wrestlers, yeah.
Sticking with like the ECW theme, and we talked about him on episode number 1, who I really like this guy a lot, and I know you do too, Tony DeVito.
Tony and I go way back. My brother used to ref him when he was first started, and he was good when he first started, and he just got better and better and better. And we stay in touch to this day. I think the world of him.
Him and Loke, the Carnage Crew team, was incredible. For a while, they had that guy Masada from Texas, and then Just Incredible joined for a while. But Loke and DeVito were, to me, that's the Carnage Crew. Those two guys together.
Just Incredible was another one that started with us at Yankee Pro.
Yes. Now, PJ, right?
Yes, PJ Walker.
Yep. All right. How about Gino Giovanni? I'm trying to find random people that I don't talk to about that often. So
I think he's a riot.
Yeah.
That's all I can tell you.
I know
wrestle.
some people, I can't remember who it was, but somebody was on here and they told a story that, wasn't very complimentary of Gino, but, I don't remember what it is, and we'll leave it at that.
But we'll tell one person, though, that is good. A female ref, Barbara.
Yes.
She's great. She knows her stuff. She's like my brother.
Okay.
I just wanted to get her name out there because she knows her stuff. She knows her place. And Steve did too, that worked for Yankee Pro. But she reminded me so much of my brother. She knew where to be. She knew how to stay out of the way, and she knows what she's doing. And she knows, even if the guy gets mad, she knows when to call it when she's supposed to.
Right.
And she did all the right things all the time.
Yeah.
And I've known her since she was 19. She started.
Wow.
And I've known her for many years.
That's awesome. How about we talked about him a while ago on the first episode that we did. Scott Taylor, Scotty Too Hardy, as most fans will know who he is.
When he came out, when he was with Steve Ramsey, and they worked for Yankee Pro, he was just a skinny little mini. And I didn't think he'd make it that far.
Right.
You know, good that he did, and I don't hold nothing against him. But Steve was a good wrestler too, and he deserved to make it. Steve was one of the best.
Steve King?
No, Steve Ramsey.
Steve Ramsey, I'm sorry. Okay.
Yeah.
Yep. Nice.
He was good.
How about Trooper Gilmore?
I
Jimmy
love
Allen.
Trooper.
Great guy.
Trooper's funny. He still owes me to be on his shows.
Trooper, what are you waiting for?
Yeah, I mean, all these
He's
years.
running.
I know. He's known me all these years, and he still hasn't had me on.
Troop, give her a title shot against Nakuma. They could Nakuma Tala.
I can't.
I'm sorry. I know. I'm really bad with names, so I butcher names. I don't even know why I bother trying to say names sometimes. How about this guy, though? He's on WWE TV now. Handsome Johnny Ivar. Todd Smith.
Yes. Very good.
Yeah.
I'm glad he made somewhere.
Me too. And as a guy, and I've said it a million times, I'm going to keep this really quick, but all the injuries, and he persevered through. Lesser men would have quit. There's no doubt in my mind. He just kept going and going and going.
That's what I think of Roman Reigns.
How about they were former NWA tag team champions? Knuckles Nelson, a two-time guest on the show, and Eric Sprague, who I still want on the show. Eric, please, come on.
I've known them for years. I'm telling you, Eric, I've known since he first started.
Right.
And he's a good worker. And I just got in touch with him again.
Nice.
Online.
Maybe you can tell him for me.
I will do that.
Because I really would love to have him on the show. Maybe episode 300, Eric. We can work on something, that big episode for me.
You should fill up the stage with all of us wrestlers.
How about Bam Bam Bigelow?
Great. But he's a good worker, but I just want to get in Bundy.
You want to what?
Get in Bundy, Chris Bundy.
Yes, King Kong Bundy.
Because he splashed me.
Did he really?
Yes. And he floated. And when he landed, he did the 5 count. And we were talking about the people in the front row.
Now,
I love
Trooper wrestled him a lot.
Yeah.
He did. For NWA New England. He wrestled him a lot.
But see, that's where I got to go with the big guys. I got
Right.
Nighthawk. He held me upside down at the PAL.
Yeah.
I told him, you better let me down. I'm going to have a nosebleed. He held me up there so long. But this is fun.
Yeah.
This is where I had the fun.
Right. He was awesome, though. Jim Nice out.
Yeah.
Pulling on his beard. He was great. All right. How about Don Vega?
I love Don Vega. We stay in touch too.
Do you? Okay, that's great.
You got to announce your thing too.
Yeah, that's all right. We'll do one more name. Nemesis.
Very good. Very, very good.
Yeah. Excellent. Listen, Sandy, we're gonna have you back on again. We're gonna do like episodes 3 and 4. When you have time and you want to come back up to the air, I would love to have you back on the show.
I'd love to. You might as well make a day.
Yeah. No, seriously. And Dick, as long as there's no other shows going, he'll let us do a couple episodes, Guys, at the end of this episode, in a few minutes and a few seconds, we're going to add a little clip of Sandy wrestling. Sandy, thank you so much for being on the show.
I have to thank you, honestly, because I love doing this and I love the sport.
I know you do.
And it is a sport.
The king of sports.
Absolutely.
Thank you again. Really, it's my honor to have you on the show.
And it's
Thank
my
you.
pleasure to be here.
Guys, that's it. We're out. Peace.
Ladies and gentlemen, Miss Cindy Starr.
Did you do anything to me? All that plastic surgery for nothing.
It's a wonderful.
Hey,
Steve-O! You gotta love the color red.
Hi, guys. I hope you're enjoying the show. Listen, I could use a little help to grow my YouTube channel. So if you could please like, share, and subscribe, that's most importantly, subscribe. Send me a direct message, and I'll give you a shout out here on the show. My YouTube channel is real simple. It's just my name, Leo Connors. Thanks in advance. Peace.
The preceding program was provided by an independent producer solely responsible for its content. The opinions expressed do not necessarily represent the views of this station, its staff, board of directors, or underwriters.